So anyway, we thank you all so much for being here, and let me just add my thanks to the staff and volunteers of Blythewood High School. My son goes here, and he's a junior this year. And you may notice, but our camera crew is actually manned by students from Blythewood High School, so that's kind of an opportunity for them to do the video and audio. So I just want to especially say thank you to all of them and to the media staff here at the school. Also want to thank the folks that I brought with me, Randy Bradley, who's going to be editing this on the live, and Cindy Thompson from my office, and my wife and mother and dad who are here. Let me also say that I want to really thank the candidates tonight. Almost every person I ask, I'll ask them, would you run for office? And they have this kind of pale look that hits them. And so I just have great respect for anyone who would put themselves out there and actually run for office. So all of us here in Blythewood, just thank you all so much for your commitment to the town and your commitment to put your personal and professional and other things on hold so you could do this on behalf of your town. So thank you all very, very much. We've already gone over the format with the candidates. The candidates will have an initial 2-minute question where they get to introduce themselves after I do a short introduction of them. After that first question, the second question, they'll have about 1 minute and 15 seconds to respond with a 30-second follow-up for additional comments or rebuttals at the end of that. We drew randomly the order that the questions will hit the candidates at in their seating selection, and they drew that in advance. So we'll be starting with Jim initially and working our way through the group. So let me start by introducing Jim McLean. Jim was the International Vice President of Sales and Marketing, as well as the President of Bunzl Columbia in Philadelphia, from which he retired after 31 years. He has served 2 terms on the Blythewood Planning Commission and is currently serving as a member of the Town Council seeking re-election. To his left is Michael Switzer, who retired from Wells Fargo Securities as a Senior VP and Investment Officer after 20 years. He owned a Baskin-Robbins ice cream store in Columbia for 8 years, concurrently founding Magnolia Carts and hosting the South Carolina Business Review on public radio. Mr. Switzer also serves on the Blythewood Planning Commission. Sitting next to him is Jack Davis. Mr. Davis retired from the United States Air Force as a Chief Master Sergeant after 33 years of service. He served as a senior staff member for Headquarters Air Combat Command and Air Intelligence Agency and was assigned to the National Security Agency. Mr. Davis also was export manager for ITT Phillips Drill. Next to him is Roger Hovis. Mr. Hovis, who is retired from the United States Air Force, is the Director of Public Health Preparedness for South Carolina DHEC Region 3. Mr. Hovis is the Chairman of Blythewood's Planning Commission. He is a member and trustee of Trinity United Methodist Church and a member of the Educational Foundation at Bethel Hanbury Elementary School. Next to him is Jeffrey Branham. Mr. Branham works for Pure Power Technology in Blythewood as a reliability engineer. He served a 2-year mission for his church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in Alaska Anchorage mission from 2001 to 2003. And finally, we have Ernestine Middleton. Ms. Middleton's career is focused on program administration, human resource management, and includes the startup of 2 scholarship lotteries. She taught at Webster University and mentored at-risk girls. She has served as the planning commissioner for the town of Blythewood. And again, please join me in welcoming all the candidates. All right, Mr. McLean, we're starting with you and then following through the order. Why are you running, and what do you hope to accomplish if elected?
Well, thank you very much. I'm not sure whether being the oldest one gets me in the first position or not. But anyway, starting out, I would like to read a brief statement. I think that's important. I think that most of you are aware that Keith Bailey's campaign signs have been picked up all over the community, and I've since learned the same thing has happened to Mr. Davis. Regardless of which candidate you support, this type of behavior should not be tolerated. It reflects poorly on our town, it's illegal, and it just isn't right. And I'd ask that all candidates join me in condemning this act, and if anyone has knowledge of those responsible, they should obviously turn them in. But with that being said, Blythewood is a very special place, and sometimes I think we forget how really blessed that we are. We have good roads with easy access to almost any place in the state that we'd like to go, with very little congestion. We have excellent schools, as evidenced here, and some of the best actually also that are in the state. We have many community churches, I think the 11 currently within the town limits of Blythewood. We are a great community with many civic-minded people. We have a blend of those who've lived in the community for generations, along with a lot of new folks that care very deeply about our community. We are a community that values our historical assets and family tradition. We are an old railroad town that's basically grown up to be one of the most desirable places to live within the state. My main concern about our future is that we do not lose our identity, our character, or our sense of community. I think most of us recognize and I think accept that Blythewood is going to grow, but it's how we grow I think that we're all mostly concerned about. And to that end, here are a few things that I will continue to support if I am reelected. Establishing a cultural area and building a modern community center in the historic center of town, improving the appearance of our town, and that includes Blythewood Road and McNulty Street, preserving our historical assets, living within our means, and developing a partnership with Ridgeway and Winsboro to create tourist-related events for the benefit of the businesses. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Switzer?
No wiggle.
I believe the vast majority of our town's registered voters, and indeed the residents of the entire 29016 zip code, want basically the same things for Blythewood. A small town protected from urban sprawl, nice shops and restaurants, to be pedestrian, bicycle, and equestrian friendly, good schools, quality cultural activities and events, and visionary political leaders working hard to make it all happen. Regardless of what you may have read somewhere, I feel it's important that you know that it is the business license fees of this town and the hospitality and accommodations taxes generated by town businesses and its customers that are paying for everything that this town does, including the new park and any other improvements. The town has over $2 million in its bank accounts and a reserve fund of over $350,000, with a requirement that is more than 3 times what the average town maintains in the state. We are in excellent financial condition. Specifically, if elected to town council, I promise to continue to help move the town forward. Work with Richland County and the Department of Transportation to eliminate the long delays in their approvals of streetscaping improvements, Work to connect the school sidewalks to nearby neighborhoods so our kids aren't walking dangerously close to traffic. Work as the liaison to Blythewood Chamber of Commerce to increase the success and vitality of our town's small business community. Reach out to all town citizens and 29016 residents and business owners to improve communications with each other. If I hear of concerns that an individual or group has, I will not wait for them to contact me. I will go to them, as I already have been doing since I've joined the Planning Commission, and try to work together to find a solution. I'm running for this office because I'm excited about the positive projects that are already underway in Blythewood and that are on the horizon. And I would be honored if you asked me to continue to help build the town that you want.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
First of all, and you've probably read this a time or two, I'm not a politician. And if I'm elected, I won't be a politician. My wife is still mad at me for even considering to run for town council. But she's been with me for 42 years, so she's going to be behind me either way. I'm concerned about the current leadership. They're treating the constituents and the businesses as part of a fiefdom, a bureaucratic fiefdom, and catering too much to special interest. I don't feel that they have listened to we, the citizens of Blythewood. I think we have a beautiful town. This is why my wife and I moved here 4 years ago. My promise to you all is that I will listen to the residents. I will listen to the businesses. I'm going to involve decisions or citizens in the decision-making process. I'd like to transform the downtown area, and we're talking the IGA Plaza and the McNulty Road area, into a quaint village-like atmosphere that'll go ahead and bring business to the businesses. That didn't sound too clear, but, you know, that the businesses in town, we need to support them. And, you know, that type of climate down there would be, I feel, you know, phenomenal. Where, you know, you've got a place to walk, you've got a place to sit down on a park bench and just, you know, enjoy the area and enjoy the businesses. I would like to go ahead and use the green space that is the park to establish youth baseball fields, playground, picnic areas, and you know, multi-use fields.
Right.
But one pledge I will make to all of you here, that if I don't listen to you, I will step down, I will resign from the position if I am elected.
Thank you. Mr. Hovis?
Hey, why am I here? Well, let me begin by saying I may not have the fanciest signs or the largest campaign budget or the sexiest minivan out there in the parking lot, but one thing I do have is 30 years of committed public service. I devoted my life to public service, beginning with my career in the United States Air Force as a Special Operations Forward Air Controller. I did that for 21 years. After that, I was a volunteer EMT and firefighter in Georgia and for quite a while here in South Carolina. Once I retired from the military and moved back home here. I was a search and rescue dog handler. I was active and a committed member to the church in Georgia while I was there for almost 18 years. I am also a committed church member here at Trinity United Methodist here in Blythewood. I volunteer at the local school as a preparedness coordinator to teach not just the kids, but the faculty and staff on how to do fire drills and tornado drills and things like that. So if you're looking for somebody, bells and whistles type town councilor, I'm not your guy. But if you want somebody who has a proven history of public service, then I'm your choice. Some of the things I would like to see done is, with some of the money, is engage with Sheriff Lott. And I spoke to Sheriff Lott today and asked him about several options that we could have to get more deputies out here. And he told me some things that he has in mind, and the current administration has not engaged him as he would like to, as he feels it should be. But that's one of the promises I would make, that we would engage the sheriff a little bit more and try to get him some money for his deputies to come out here and support us. Some of the grant money that we spend on making the middle of I-77 beautiful, I'd like to take that grant money and make the town beautiful. McNulty Square, the IHA Plaza, places like that you've already heard from. And one other thing is get things right with SCE&G and the power line deal that's going on. And I'm a horse lover. My daughter's a horse lover. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Branham?
I'd just like to start by saying I've been taught from a young age that my purpose on earth is to serve, whether it be at church or in a municipality or whatever it may be. I've been taught that my whole life. I've watched my parents serve. My mother was a nurse for as long as I can remember. My father was a fire chief here in Blythewood for 17 years before it went to a full-time station. So I've come from a line of that, and I was taught to help those around me. Most of the people that I know that are from Blythewood are not direct citizens of Blythewood within the town limits. I come from just a mile north of the town limits, and I've always lived a mile north of the town limits, but everybody that I know lives just outside. And it's those people that have been here since I was born and before that are the ones that have spoken to me and have spoken out about how things are going. They don't believe that the way things are going right now is the right way to go. They express that even though they live outside of the town limits, that even those that do live within the town limits are not being heard in the things that they say. And that's where I see an issue. And I can't sit and see this go on and do absolutely nothing about it. I'm an armchair quarterback sometimes, but now it's not the time to be an armchair quarterback. It's time to get involved. So I discussed with my wife, and we thought about it, prayed about it, and after a lot of thought and consideration, I decided to run for office. But and the things that I believe should happen within a government is it should be open and honest, that it should be clear. Everything should be clear. There should be nothing hidden, and everything should be out in the open for the citizens to see. If you have a question, call, and you should have an answer immediately. People are not being represented. It's time for representation to come back and for people's voices to be heard. we're elected officials to vote what you have to say, not to do what we have to do or what we want to do. And we need to reevaluate the way things are going in Blythewood and go forward properly and avoid debt.
Ms. Middleton?
Okay. My husband and I moved from Columbia in 1991. We had our 2 children with us, and we built our dream home here in Blythewood in Lake Ashley. When we moved here in 91, there was 1 high school, Spring Valley, there was 1 gas station, 1 grocery store. So you know I've seen a lot of growth and progress since I've been out here in Blythewood. We moved here because we love the schools, we love the friendly environment, we love the people that we were engaged with, and we liked the low crime rate and wanted a little bit of space. So we really had big, high hopes for Blythewood, growing very steadily and controlled, and not becoming like some of the other areas where we saw massive urban sprawl. And I won't mention Irma. After losing my husband to cancer, I remained and raised my 2 children right here in Blythewood. There were a lot of people that said, well, you should move on, but I liked it here. I really had a real fondness for it. I got involved. I was vice president of the Citizens Watch Association, and we beat back the attempt to bring a landfill into our neighborhood. I thought that was important. I also got involved with founding a scholarship program through a nonprofit with some of my other Blythewood neighbors, and we awarded scholarships to 5 young men that were C students, not A students or B students, just trying to make sure that we give back to the community. I went on to serve on the Planning Commission. I thought that was important because I like to make sure that growth is controlled and is planned and is well executed. I'm a candidate for town council because I generally care about the growth and development of Blythewood. I wanted to retain all of the small town charm, but at the same time, I know that change is coming. I talked to you about change, but progress is absolutely a choice. And we together can make sure that we have the type of, I'm finished.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
The next 2 questions have to do are in the area of business. Mr. Switzer, you'll lead off here. What will you do to improve the business climate in the town, both for the existing businesses and to attract new businesses?
Okay, so, well, as I mentioned at the last town council meeting when I spoke, I mentioned that I would like to see some of the money that comes from the sale of the old community center property go to matching into a business improvement district for the downtown area of Blythewood to help speed up some of the downtown streetscaping and improvements that we need downtown. I've talked with Columbia. They've got an excellent business improvement district program, and their Chamber of Commerce works together with the city to put together programs that, for example, a facade improvement program for the businesses that are downtown Columbia. And I don't see why we can't implement the same things here in Blythewood. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, I also am very interested in working as a liaison for the town with the Blythewood Chamber of Commerce. With my business experience, I believe that I can help the town's businesses accomplish the things that they would like to see done.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
I'm going to do my best to keep what we like about Blythewood while bringing improvements that we all want. We need to have a business climate that is friendly to the business. An example of unfriendliness would be the companion animal hospital. You know, for 4 years they fought for their sign to be put to use. And the gentleman passed away before he actually saw that happen. There's no reason for the town leadership to cause 4 years of heartache to get a sign ordinance passed. If we're going to bring businesses to town, we also have to have ordinances. We have to set forth the rules. And right now, I don't feel that we have them. Those businesses need to know what to expect when they get here. They can't be fearful of coming here and then not being able to put up a sign or not be able to have a certain type of business. Again, I'd like to see a quaint business area that would bring those from inside and out.
Mr. Hovis?
First of all, the chamber is involved in this quite heavily, yes, for our businesses that are in this area, and we all appreciate what the Chamber of Commerce does. But one of the things I would like to see is to keep fees and taxes on businesses as low as possible, and even cut, if we can, in those areas. Also, there needs to be a connection of some sort between town council and the businesses, and how we do that other than the Chamber of Commerce is up for debate, I would suppose. But I think there could be some other committees or other venues established where the town council folks could meet and visit with local businesses, maybe on a one-on-one basis, maybe as a collective, just as long as we're not violating any of our protocols as we have to by government. For businesses that are coming into town, what I'd like to say is, also for residential builders, look at the vacant subdivisions we have down Blythewood and Fulmer Road, ones that Mike Shelley started, now still vacant. Look at the vacant warehouses we have down Carolina Pines Drive, where the old Belk building is. And the one warehouse I don't think has ever even had a client or a tenant in that place. We need to steer folks to those places, get those buildings utilized, and start collecting our business fees and taxes from them.
Mr. Moran?
It was talked about just a few minutes ago, how the accommodations tax and business license stuff pays for pretty much everything in town. The only way we're going to keep that money and stuff coming in is if we promote what we have and invite people in. We have to be inviting to them by keeping our taxes and everything low. We have to encourage the businesses that are already here. We've got to bring business to them. When they're tucked away in a corner, even though they're in the downtown area, they can't be seen. There's no signage. There's no way they can be seen and they can be profitable. I don't think you're going to get anybody sitting up here to give you a different answer and say that, no, we definitely don't need to promote business. Nobody's going to say that. We definitely need to encourage the local businesses because, after all, that's what pays the bills and that's what provides things for us. But we've got to go forward and work with people. We mentioned the sign at the Companion Animal Hospital. A couple years back, McDonald's sign was blown down with some wind that came through. It took a couple of months before they could put the sign back up. The crane was sitting there waiting to put the sign up, and they stopped them from putting it up. And that has to be considered. Things like that. We've got to work with the local businesses and fill up the vacant spots that we have and promote people coming here and bring back to our town and keep things going the way we need to.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton?
I'm a consensus builder, so I would work very closely with Richland County and also with the state chamber to try to bring in new business here. I would do things that support the business that is already here and to promote Blythewood. I like the idea of making our corridors more attractive. Those things that really say this is a great place to work and to do business and to live also. I also believe that the town master plan is comprehensive and has a lot of information in there and a lot of ideas about economic development, which we can support. Maybe not everything, but there's certainly things that we can put in place that will support business and grow the town of Blythewood in a very, very planned and strategic manner. I am a little leery of developers. I think that we make sure that our land use is controlled very carefully so that you don't have developers coming in and putting 5 houses on 1 acre of land, because we don't want that sort of thing in Blythewood. So consensus is one of the things I wanted to say before I got cut off before. I am a consensus builder and I am conservative, and I do believe that we should always support our business. That's the basis of our economy.
Thank you. Mr. McKee?
Yeah, thanks. The greatest thing I think we can do for our businesses, and I think also ourselves, is to have an attractive town. There are 3 types of businesses in Blythewood. There are those businesses that rely 100% on the interstate, like the hotels. There are businesses that rely on about half and half between the traveling public and local citizens, and those businesses like the gas stations. And there are those businesses that rely totally on the local traffic. And it's the businesses that rely on the local traffic that are hurting in Blythewood. And I think the best way to help those folks is to make Blythewood more of a destination. And for that reason, I think that the town cultural center, improving the looks of the town, all will help, in bringing people to the Blythewood area.
Mr. Switzer, brief follow-up?
Yes, I'd like to briefly comment on some somebody mentioned ordinances. The town has an award-winning master plan that the Planning Commission and the Town Council and together are working to put ordinances into effect that strengthen the community. Many of them have already been put into effect. We've established a 6 commercial zone matrix, expanded from, I think it was 3 or 4, and so it's offering much better choices to the business community.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Again, it gets back to transparency. If there are ordinance being put in place, I've yet to be able to find them.
Yeah. Mr. Hovis?
I think I need to owe an apology to Mike Shelley. I didn't mean to throw Mike under the bus. What I was talking about is subdivisions like his, we could probably help out rather than leave them fallow and lay there and not have any interest at all whatsoever in them. And I don't know how to do that, but I think we could come up with funding. We could, with some outreach, with some talk with the chamber and other folks, and just figure out how we can get people in these subdivisions that have the infrastructure already in place, but no families in there yet.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan?
Like I said, we have to play to our advantages. Like it's been discussed, there's 3 different types of businesses in Blythewood, but there's no reason that there should be a business in Blythewood that only depends on local traffic. If we promote Blythewood to bring more than just local traffic, if it means signage or whatever it takes, if it means billboards, there's a way to get those people there without shifting everything in town to one location and relocating businesses completely.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton?
I think it's unfortunate that the signage issue became a problem at one point in time, but I do know that it is very important that you control your signage. You don't want to look like two-notch roads. You want to have your signs to be a certain size, consistent, that beautify the town. And we spent a lot of time on the Planning Commission working on just that issue so that Blythewood would retain its beauty.
Mr. McLean?
Yes, the town recently completed a complete review of the sign ordinance. We had those that were involved with local businesses, the chamber was involved, and local citizens. And when we came out of that meeting, there was a 100% agreement on the direction we needed to go in. And that was done and completed, I think, about maybe 6 months ago, thereabouts.
Thank you. We'll lead off the next question with Mr. Davis. One of the interesting aspects of the town of Blythewood and citizens is that there's a strong desire to both see it remain a small town and also to see it grow. So here's the question. If a superstore like Walmart or Target submitted a proposal to put a store on in the Blythewood Road area, would you vote for it or against it?
Now, that's going to be a quick minute and 15 seconds if it's a yes or no answer.
We're allowing you to elaborate on your
I can
answer.
elaborate? And that, yeah, not 1 minute and 15, I never realized it was so short. I would really, as a council member, would like to get input from the community. And if it takes a referendum to determine whether or not one of these box stores should go in. I don't think it should just be the decision of 5 individuals sitting on council or the mayor. We need input. We need to grow Blythewood, but we need to bring things here that we want. And we need to keep the things that make Blythewood what it is today. So we've got to be creative. We've got to create an atmosphere that will bring businesses to Blythewood or residents to Blythewood. One thing that really gets to me is you see Blythewood promoted as the gateway to Columbia. We need to promote Blythewood as the destination, not Columbia.
Thank you. Mr. Hovis?
No, no, and no. Big box stores that wouldn't fit anywhere in Blythewood, much less on Blythewood Road. Where would we put something like that? And by the way, I don't think our master plan supports something building that. We'd be way outside of our current town center plan, south down the road a little bit towards county property. But once again, that's Richland County. So we would definitely have to coordinate and contact and shake hands with Richland County, if somebody would propose building something like that. But that, once again, like Jack said, we have to get the residents involved. We have to call for referendums. We have to have citizen input, 100%. Everybody has to stand up and make their voices heard. in a process like this, where we have these big folks come in with lots of money, lots of lawyers, lots of things to do. If we don't do that, then, then it gets left up to the people that, the small group of 5 that run the town. And, and that's no way to run a town or to make your citizens happy or to bring in more citizens. I don't think. So the answer to me, Blythewood Road, maybe that's a bad example, but no.
Mr. Brown?
I can answer that question by asking a question, or this response is, I nearly cried when they turned the second stoplight on in Blythewood a few years back. So definitely no, not something like that. That's not what we're trying to promote. We want that small town feel. We want local businesses here. We don't want a box store that's going to come in and run everybody out of town. But at the same time, exactly as been discussed by Jack and Roger, that the purpose of me running is, and the principles I stand for are inputs from the citizens. I don't think that it's been heard in the last couple of years, and that's part of it. If it calls for a referendum, or the citizens want a referendum, then that's what needs to be done. And then that's less burden for a council to carry if the citizens decide that's what they want. But from my opinion, no, sir. You wouldn't catch me in 100 years voting for a Walmart to move in on Blythewood Road. So.
Ms. Middleton?
My initial reaction was absolutely the same as everyone else. I would probably say no. But I would take the time to do a cost-benefit analysis. I would make sure that I heard from the citizens to study it. There may be job impact. There are a lot of factors that go into it. On Blythewood Road, I still will say no. But there are other parts of the town that we might look at. Land uses issues are very important, and making sure that we have economic growth. But more important to me, and I think to a lot of citizens, is that we keep the small town flavor. You can't keep a small town flavor with a Walmart or Target sitting on Blythewood Road. But there are other parts of the area that you might be able to come to some kind of consensus on.
Mr. McLean?
Well, I certainly would hate to see it, again, as being a citizen that was born in the town. I've seen many changes over the year, and I am no fan of any box store. But this is exactly why you need a master plan. And our master plan, I think, goes as far as it can go in addressing that. It takes a lot of money to fight a Walmart or a Home Depot. I'm not sure that our pockets are deep enough to do it. But I think the biggest concern that I can see is that there are large tracts of land that on Blythewood Road that are not in the town limits. So this council won't have a say-so in that unless, unless that property is annexed into the town itself. So annexation should be critical to us, and holding to our master plan should also be one of our main efforts in, trying to control those types of stores.
Thank you. Mr. Switzer?
I agree with everybody. No, I wouldn't want, big box stores. To me, that big box stores equal urban sprawl. Let's keep the urban sprawl down at Killian Road. Let's don't let it go any further than that. Maybe handy to be able to drive only 5 miles to, get to one of those places, but we don't want them here in our backyards, I don't think. So, that's my answer.
Okay. Mr. Davis, brief follow-up?
If something like that were to go in Blythewood town, it would take away from the small businesses in town. It would put them out of business. So these are considerations that we need to take a look at, is the impact that it's going to have on businesses in town. That has to be a consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Hovis?
Let's take a look at Killian Crossing. If we want Killian Crossing in town limits or somewhere even close to that, it's close enough as it is. Just do yourselves a favor and drive by Killian Crossing and look what's going on out there, and just imagine, just imagine. And another thing, what big box industries and big box stores do, they take away from the small business.
Mr. Brandon?
Killian Road is close enough for me. I don't need a Walmart any closer. I don't need to be able to walk to Walmart. Again, the town master plan accommodates for that, and watching out for things like that. We've got to keep the local businesses here, and we've got to promote them. And I can drive to Walmart down at Killian Road. It's okay with me. If anybody has any problems with that, call me. I'll take you down there if you want to move one in close by. So.
Ms. Middleton?
I agree with everything that's already been said. I mean, the master plan is an award-winning master plan, and it takes care of all of that sort of thing. So we don't have to worry about a Walmart or a Target coming right in the middle of town, and we have the convenience of keeping it on Tilden Road.
I think we do have to worry about it. There's 300 acres of land directly across the street right now that's not within the town limits, and just directly across from the town hall and so forth. But I will also say that there is some comfort in the fact that we have one, I think, of the best BAR groups, which is Board of Architectural Review, that has to pass on the design of all the structures that are coming into town, particularly from a business standpoint. You can look at Hardee's, and you can see that that's the only Hardee's in the state, I think maybe even in the nation, that's built from brick. When they came into town, they came in with 7 or 8 different colors, and that group ended up did a marvelous job, getting them to build more to the town's design.
Mr. Switzer?
I just think it definitely needs to be reiterated what Jim said about we do need to be concerned about property that is right around the town outskirts and some that are in the town that are little enclaves that don't right now have to abide by the town master plan and ordinances.
All right, our next question, Mr. Hovis will lead off with. With the recent decision regarding the sale of the community center, there are still many questions about whether it was the right decision or not. Do you think the community center should have been kept or sold?
I think the community center should have been kept. I think any time that a metropolitan area owns property, why would they sell it? It's not being, you can't buy it anymore. There's no more land being manufactured. It's not an item like that you can just come by. And another big reason for not selling that particular location, tract of land, is this location. I mean, look at it, right off I-77, the accessibility that it has to the recent venues that current administration has sponsored have been very successful, and a lot of people, are starting to identify with that. Well, now, if we sell it to whomever, and I'm not pointing fingers at the current person who wants to purchase it, but what could happen with that? Why did we sell it? Why did we not go back to the plan we had a few years ago to spend a little over $1 million to knock the old building down, build up a nice building, and just restructure a little bit, build some nicer baseball parks there, and have tournaments, invite people in. Those are all money-making items as well, too. They get people into our hotels, they get folks into our shops and restaurants, and that's a money-maker for us. I don't know why in the world we would want to sell that tract of land.
Mr. Brown?
I agree with Mr. Hovis. The whole concept of it being right there, and the devil's advocate to that is, oh, well, it's not as big as what you think it is. It doesn't go as far as what you think it does. There's this, there's that. Yes, it's an old building, but it has been discussed. There was money talked about several years ago to rebuild a new building there that would be a nice location. And I don't agree with the sale of it because of that. I mean, it's an asset. And I cited in one of my articles in the paper, if I have a piece of property that's worth $100,000 and I turn and sell it for $100,000, but I can, profit from it $25,000 a year. In 4 years, I've made my money back, and then I'm losing every year. And it's it's a simple concept. It's a very valuable piece of property that we can utilize that will help the town. And we should keep our resources. We have to play to our advantages. So I don't believe that the current sale is a good idea, just for the sake that it could hurt the town in the future. Even though it seems like a great idea right now, it may end up hurting the town in the future.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton?
Well, since this community center has already been sold, I did ask around. I did do some research on it because I didn't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. I found out that the community center was donated to the town. People love it. You can go there and you can have all types of activities. And I was concerned about the festivals because they're generally over there. Well, I found out the festivals are held on private property right behind the community center. So we'd still be able to do those type of things. Hindsight is, 2020. Should we have sold it? Should we have looked at some other options? I really don't know. So I'm not going to voice an opinion one way or the other. I haven't had enough time to really study about whether we should have sold the community center. All I can say that it has been sold, and hopefully in the future we will make good decisions to make sure that we utilize all of our resources. And this may have been a good decision. I just don't know. So.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
I think it was a wise decision. I think it honors the intent of the original givers of the property. And I say this again as a person, as a youth that took shingles up on the ladder to help build the community center. The funds from that will help do a lot of things in town that we'd like to do. It could help us with the park. It could also help us with the improvements of McNulty Street and other locations. I have all the confidence in the world in Mr. Sharp, who is a Blythewood resident. I have his home number. I know his family. I know his children. And Mr. Sharp's got to ride by that place every day, just like the rest of us. And I'm sure that he would do a wonderful job, in developing it. It is a gateway. It is one of our gateways to our town, and it should develop with class and obviously in a very appealing sort of way. The master plan will also dictate the fact that that property will be built according to the plan we already have on the books.
Thank you. Mr. Switzer.
After I researched everything that's gone on with that property, I believe that, the donors who donated that property to the town, they donated it with the understanding that it would be sold and that the money would be used towards a park in the town center. It's finally being done, or it's already been decided, so I agree with the decision on that basis and on the fact that the person who did make the offer to buy the property is somebody, as Jim mentioned, somebody who's local, who also specifically dictated in the offer that he would build exactly what the master plan specifies for that location. Very attractive brick, 1- and 2-story office retail buildings.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
If I had been on town council, would not have voted to sell it. There are an awful lot of families here who have been here all their lives. And they've used that facility over there as for weddings, for baptisms, for anniversaries, any number of things, family reunions. So it meant a lot to a lot of people. Like it has been said before, there were previous plans for the site, and that was to go ahead and level, grade it, and build another building, which would have come in at about $600,000 to $800,000. This could have been used as a community center and also as a welcome center. But I think that the land is too valuable to sell. If it does go through, because there's a 120-day contingent, I believe, on the sale, instead of putting any of that money towards the park, I think it should be put on the infrastructure of McNulty and the IGA Plaza.
Thank you. Mr. Hovis, brief follow-up.
I agree with Jack on that last statement 100%. And also, Mr. Sharp is a great developer. He's a great friend of the town. He's been here a long time. But what if it was somebody else? What if what if somebody defaults on that? Who's going to pick up the tab once that process is started? And another thing I encourage everybody to do is to pick up a copy of the local papers today and look at them. There's several really good articles in there that talk about the money and the structure and what's going to happen. One comment was about, the town could stand to lose $500,000 to $700,000 less than the reported sale.
Mr. Brown.
The first note I wrote, somebody hit the nail on the head. That extra money would be great in the park, and that's what concerns me. Years ago, back in the 1990s, when it was voted on that the community center be sold, there were 19, 20 people that voted on it. There were then less than 100 people in the town limits that voted, and now there's over 1,300 registered voters. There's been a shift in the representation in this town and what people want to do. And the scary part is now it goes to the park, or it goes to something that has been very, very heated in this community and has divided this community, and I don't agree with that.
Ms. Middleton.
I believe that Mr. Sharp is going to abide by the terms of the contract that he signed, and that he's going to carry out the things that are in the master plan, and therefore it's a done deal, and I think that we should just move on and make sure that we get the best use of it.
Mr. McLean.
How many folks have ever seen the cultural center of the town at an interstate interchange? Blythewood has changed, and it's changed because of the interstate. I've got fond memories of the community center. I've had many good experiences there as a youth. But what the town has done is building a new community center in the old historic part of town. It's getting out of one old building and building a brand new facility that would be a point of pride, for all the residents in the town of Blythewood. And it will be a place where you can have a wedding, you can have reunions, and and be proud of the place that you're having it in.
Thank you. Mr. Switzer?
Somebody mentioned that it's too valuable to sell. You know, there's also an argument that it's too valuable to keep. There's, you know, high-priced property. Does the town need to be putting its, you know, money into high-priced property near an interstate, or better use elsewhere? And then, of course, as I said in my introduction, as you can't believe everything you read in some of these papers that are printed here in this town.
Mr. Davis?
You know, again, I think we need to consider the park when built. We're paying for it, citizens of Blythewood. It's going to be used by Richland County residents. It's going to be used by City of Columbia residents. And it's not going to generate any income.
Thank you.
That's my case.
Thank you. The next question leads off with Mr. Branham. And a number of you have referenced it one way or another in your comments. What is your current view? What is your view of the current master plan for the town of Blythewood, and what do you like about it, and what don't you like about it?
I'll be the first person to jump in and tell you that I have not been through the town master plan completely, because it's 70 pages long or something like that. I do like the concept of a master plan that does change things like signage and ordinances like that, that does keep you from becoming a two-notch road, or, you know, an interstate intersection where there's, you know, everything that's done attractive. The master plan as a whole, I don't have an issue with the town park. That has never been the issue. The scale of the town park has been my issue. The fact that in the master plan, it was on down the list to be done. There are many things to be done to start with, but all of a sudden now it's become number one on the list. We haven't done any infrastructure. What do we do if we have an event? We saw the event at the community center before. We weren't prepared for it. Look at the nightmare of traffic that we have. What do we do when we have this town park over here? We have an amphitheater in, and a band decides they want to come in and play a concert. It'll take 3 days to get traffic in and out. Everything has to be done in order, and I think that the master plan has been strayed from a little bit by doing the town park to start with. There are a lot of things that could have been done first that would be more beneficial to the citizens of this town, and the park could have come just a little bit later.
Ms. Middleton?
I support the master plan. I worked on the master plan. If you look under the stakeholders, you'll find my name there. I think the master plan was developed very comprehensively. It won at least I think it was a national award for good planning, and you've got to have that. You've got to have a roadmap, a vision of how you're going to develop. You just can't just go haphazardly and do things. And I believe that the issue of the park, we're going to be able to do things incrementally. When we don't have the money to go forward with everything that's in those increments, we cut back, we scale back. So definitely I support the master plan. I think it is the way to go. It will put Blythewood where we want to be. It will retain all the small town features, and it will develop us to be not just the front porch of Columbia and Charlotte and Rock Hill, but we'll be the star of the whole center.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Yeah, the park is being paid for by commissions tax, which is paid for by us, but it's also paid for by people from West Virginia and everybody else that travels through town. Those funds are restricted. You have to spend those funds for tourist-related events that come typically within a 50-mile radius of town. But regarding the master plan, basically, if you would need, I think, remember 3 words tonight, and that's vision, plan, and action. And the vision is a starting point. It defines your goals, it tells you where you want to go, and without a vision, you basically leave everything to chance. You really have nothing. A plan is a roadmap for your vision. It typically has 3 elements. It tells you where you've been, it tells you where you want to go, and it tells you where you are. And all good plans are updated annually. And action is defined simply as the act of doing.
Thank you. Mr. Switzer?
I think we're all very lucky to have the master plan that we have for this town. You know, it received the award for the top plan in the state by the State Planners Association, and these are people who, that's what they do for a living. They do municipal planning, and the fact that they've chosen our plan as the top plan in the state for small towns speaks a lot, and I think we're just very, very lucky to have this master plan that is providing us with the quality of life that we all want.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
I like the master plan. I went through all of it, and my head is still spinning, so I don't know that I've digested all of it, but I like what I see. But again, I will go back to what Mr. Branham had said. I don't think the priority should have been the park. I think the priority should have been the infrastructure of downtown Blythewood. I think that's where it should have started. That's where we're going to see an improvement. You know, Blythewood Road is what Blythewood Road is going to be. It's going to be fast food stores and it's going to be gas stations. But we certainly have control on what we can do with the rest of it. And, you know, I think the master plan needs to be followed. I just think that we need to revisit the priorities.
Mr. Hovis?
I like the master plan. As you know, I'm the chairperson for the planning commission, so I have to like it. I have to know it. I live it. I breathe it. I look at it all the time. I've had a lot of friends out here in the audience and on this panel here that have helped with that plan and the revisions of it. As Mr. McLean said, it is. It's the past, it's the present, and the future. And is a guiding document for us, not just people who are interested and trying to be politicians or commissioners, but for you guys too, to guide and shape the town. But we have to stick to that master plan, don't deviate from it. In other words, all the hard work that the folks have done to it, let's not then willy-nilly give it to a council that just disregards it and does as they want with it. And I think that's all I want to say about that right now.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan, brief follow-up.
Real quickly, when Walmart at Killian Road was built, it was estimated that it would increase traffic there by 14,000 cars a day, just Walmart. If we're expecting this master plan, everything, it looks great, but we've built a park and now we expect to have events and other things there, and I talked about the traffic before. But if we really bring all these things here, has anybody been down Hardscrabble Road at 7:30 in the morning lately? It's going to turn into Lake Carolina. Where was the master plan there? There was not one. I went to high school there, graduated in 2000, and I fought traffic there then, and I fought it even worse before I moved back to Blythewood.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton?
I agree that if you have a master plan, you have to follow it. That's the purpose of having the plan. So I think it would be incumbent upon everyone that is a stakeholder in this whole issue to read the master plan, go through it. This is your town. It's not just the council members or the potential council members. Know what you're buying into. It certainly will be taken care of through the sales accommodation tax and other means of that nature, but is it what you really want? So I think it's very important that we all become vested in knowing about the master plan.
Thank you.
You cannot spend accommodation and hospitality tax for infrastructure improvements. It's against the law. That money has to be spent for tourist-related events, drawing folks typically outside the 50-mile area of town. So as much as we would like to see the infrastructure improvements be there, it cannot come from those funds. If those funds are not spent, that money goes back to the state. You have a period of time in which to spend that money, and that's the money that's paying and funding for the park.
Mr. Switzer?
I just agree with Jim. That's good for me.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
I will educate myself if and when I am elected.
Okay. All right. Our final question will leave with Ms. Middleton. There are many questions regarding the funding of town development and growth. How do you propose to fund future town growth?
Well, one of the things that we just finished talking about is the sales accommodation tax. I think that is a great way to do it. One of the things I've heard a lot from constituents is there's some misunderstanding that property taxes, we don't pay property taxes in Blythewood. So I think for the sales accommodations tax to use for things like the park and things of that nature, I think that's the way to go. And if we get more business into our hotels and our venues, that is a resource for doing that.
Mr. McLean?
As much as I hate to say it, I think at some point in time, the town is going to have to consider some type of a tax, to fund some of the projects that the town deems important to carry out. I don't like to pay taxes any more than anybody else, but I think there comes a point where if we want to move the town forward in certain areas, that we're going to have to end up maybe addressing those. The town up until I guess 5 years ago had a 7 mil property tax, And that tax was dropped due to the fact that the town was able to operate basically off the business license fees and that they were getting along with franchise fees. But at some point in time, you have to have a way to pay for it. Accommodations taxes can't pay for infrastructure improvement. So there has to be a decision about what's important for the town, what the town wants to do with it, and come to a decision about how those funds are going to be paid for, those projects can be paid for.
Mr. Switzer?
Well, right now, while all we have is business license fees, accommodations, and hospitality taxes in the town, the best way to fund future growth is to continue to support the business community in this town, because that's where all of our money's coming from. I really believe that the park will be a boon to the business community, but I also have concerns that, as you've heard today, about infrastructure and how do we prepare for this, this activity, this increased activity that's coming to the town. And I've already asked the town administrator to look into adding to the next planning commission meeting agenda items to address what we need to do as a town to prepare for the upcoming increase in activity in this town.
Mr. Davis?
Well, if we're going to address the infrastructure, McNulty Road and the IGA Plaza, it's going to cost the businesses some money. They're going to have to contribute in some way. But I think that we need to research ways. There are a lot of grants out there that are available, either by federal or state government. I think we need to look at those to see what we can do to create that nice atmosphere, the quaint village atmosphere in that area. As far as property taxes, real estate taxes, I'm in a unique position. As a 100% permanently disabled vet, I don't pay real estate taxes. So I don't have a dog in the fight. But, I want to hear from the residents. I want to hear from who would be the taxpayers. And I'm going to support what the constituents, what the citizens of Blythewood feel is appropriate.
Thank you. Mr. Hovis?
Well, first of all, with the accommodation taxes, I think I would hopefully get a little more citizens' input or solicit more citizen input on exactly what they want in the park, as opposed to lacrosse fields, other multi-purpose athletic fields and stuff like that. There's a big need for, I think, for baseball fields, softball fields around here. We have tournaments all the time and facilities that are currently available, and they're always overused, they're always overbooked, and looking for places to park. So I think that would also be a revenue maker too with the restaurants and hotels. Future funding, I think we could work with the Chamber of Commerce and look for those types of grants and incentives to do some infrastructure improvement.
Mr. Moran?
I guess it all stems back to the principles that I'm kind of live by at this point, and one of those things is citizen input. If it means that a citizen wants to go a certain route, I did not understand what Mr. McLean was saying a minute ago about it being illegal to use accommodations tax. I appreciate that. However, now knowing that, elected officials, we're elected by the citizens. We do what the citizens want us to do. That's what the citizens are there for. When we have a town council meeting, you can't have 1,319 people come through and cast a vote. I mean, that's the purpose of the government that we have set up. There's over 300 million people in this country. That's why it's set up that way. And I can't give you an answer as to what I would do or how I would do it, but I would want to do what the town would want me to do with it. And that's why I'm running for election, because I want to do what the town wants to do, and I want the citizens of the town to be happy, because when the citizens here are happy and other people move in, it keeps a happy atmosphere and it keeps that small town feel. When everybody's ticked off at their neighbor about one thing or another, it's not a very happy place to be, and it's not inviting.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton, closing comment on this or in general?
On this, basically, when I've heard mention about grants and incentives, I remember back 10, 20 years ago, there was a lot of money, a lot of state money, a lot of federal money for grants to do all types of things. I don't believe in this economy, and probably in the near future, that money's going to exist. So I think we're going to have to put more emphasis on utilizing the funds that we can through sales accommodation, business licenses, and other means. The whole idea about a property tax just does not sit well with most citizens. And
Thank you. Mr. McLean, closing comments?
franchise fees and business license will only carry you so far. And it has to be, we have to determine another way to generate revenue. But I want to say one other thing about the park. The park was looked at, it's been looked at since 1998. There's something in that park for everything. There's something in the park for me as an old citizen, and there's also something in the park for youth. Basically on the one side of the lake, it's an athletic field. On the other side, they're cultural events. So I think we would be remiss to look at it strictly as a one-sided venue.
Mr. Switzer.
I'll just reiterate your question, how would I fund future town growth or be in favor of funding future town growth? You know, as long as the money's coming from the business community or because of the business community, I would do everything I can to support the growth of the business community.
Mr. Davis?
Getting back to the park, I would like to, if I'm elected, revisit the bids that were let for the vertical, because it talks about putting things in that we may not be able to fund, and it may have to be funded down the road, and we don't know what that fund source is going to be. I think we need to put something in there that we can utilize now, and that should be in the way of Little League baseball fields. There should be several of those, maybe a multi facility as well, multi-field facility.
I agree with Jack on that, because that's what I said last time. But it appears now from some of the information that's come out recently, the money that has been invested in the park thus far is at an end. So to do any of the other improvements to the park that the folks want, current administration, is going to take a lot more money or a little more money. You know, they have something like they want to go ahead and finish what they have now with the ground structure, the horizontal, no vertical, except for a four-legged clock tower with no clock.
Mr. Moran?
As I said, we've got to support growth, and if we're going to do that through bringing businesses here and things like that, we've got to make the current businesses here happy. And I don't think a lot of businesses will come here and talk to local business people and say, are you happy with what's going on in town? I think they're probably going to get a disagreement there. We've got to make the current people happy. Now, how we go about that is another question, and that's another 30 seconds later on. But we have to make the people that we have happy to bring more people in here with businesses and things like that if we want to, encourage our future in this funding. So.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate, and I know all the citizens appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Wish you all the best of luck, and again, thank you for taking the time to think about these positions and for running for office. So if you could all join me in thanking these candidates for running. I think, Sam,